going live. Alright, we are all set up. So, hello everyone, and welcome back to Satisfactory. So last time we were working on our assembly director system factory, and from what I recall, we were nearly done. So let's just get into that and figure out what we had left. So I believe the last thing we were working on was managing the wire output. So we have 480 there, 520 there, and 200 back here. And all of those are at their correct numbers, which means we're producing the correct amount of wire, I believe. As long as also this is at 142. This is somehow slightly higher than it should be. It's also wildly inconsistent, so that might just be a thing that it's just going to be dealing with. But as long as it's good, then I'm not too worried. Let's head up here and check. Yeah, these look like they are filling with wire, which I suppose is a good thing. Because if those... I'm not sure how we have more wire than we're supposed to. But if it's happening like that, I'm not going to complain about it. Although now this has crashed down, which is marginally worrying. But again, we were higher previously, and it looks like it just has big spikes and drop-offs. So we're just not going to worry about that. As long as those machines up there are getting enough wire, it's fine. And so, what we need to worry about is the 1,000 wire we have here going into these two sinks, which we are going to turn into cable. Using the generic cable recipe, apparently, which is nice and simple. Just wire into cable. So, let's get some space for that. And it's going to be in this general vicinity, because this is where the wire outputs are. And we're going to need somewhere in the realm of 18 to 20 constructors, depending on how they're balanced. The minimum would be 16.667, but I'm not going to do that, because that seems like extra work. So, let's find a blueprint that's just constructors, like this one. This is a blueprint which is just constructors, and it's 5 of them. So, we do 4 of these, we've got 20, and that's enough. So let's do that. It's not the most elegant blueprint in the world because it's using the old 1 to 5, but that's fine. And we are just going to connect that across. Oh, we can't even actually do that because we have 480 and 520 and not a single belt of 1,000. Also, did this just drop down to 479? It did. That's a concern. We don't want that. We're going to have to monitor if that's going to be a continued issue, but what we need to do is figure out how we're actually going to be splitting these. So this is 60 a minute for a single constructor, which means it's going to be 480 divided by 60 is 8. So 8 constructors for that, and then, 8 and a bit constructors for that? Alright, so let's do that then. I don't think we really need a blueprint for this even, we can just place down constructors manually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I actually want to go... do I want to go back over there? The sink is in the way and I want the sink to continue existing. No, let's just build it in here. So that's 8, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. So these will be the cable constructors for the 480 batch. And then we'll have 9 constructors for the 520 batch. So now we just have to do splitters, and it's 8, so we split these just 2 to 1 a couple of times. Ooh, lag spike prevented me from placing there. So those all go in like that. Actually, we could just do speed balancing, but there's no real urgency to do that here, since the even splitting is fairly trivial. And speed balancing can sometimes cause minor problems. Alright, so then these get 2 of those in, and Mark II belts going along there, and there, and there, and there. Then we have a Mark III belt, which goes there, and there, and a Mark IV belt that goes from there to there. Alright, so now we just have to power all these guys on, which we should be able to do with a single power line if we're careful about it. Alright, and then we connect this up back to there. Those are all powered up. Now we set this to center overflow right any. And then we need to get these ones, which we're just going to do the same way, just over this area to the right of the sink. And we're going to need, what, 9 of them? Let's see, 520 divided by 60 is, yes, basically 9. So we get 1, 2, 3. Let's actually push these back a little bit, just so that we have space for the splitters. So they can just be back here, actually lined up with these ones. Should be good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Alright, now these get 1 to 3 splitters. And there we go, there we go, there we go. I have to set the recipes for these. And it's going to be, we have to also set production rates because it's not just the natural this time. Alright, so those are all in. Then we get this, which is going to need to go straight up to Mark III. And then get fed from this over here, which we're going to need to put in a smart splitter for. And bring that over this way. So you're going to go out like this, and then around a corner and in. Alright, now for setting the recipes, we get cable, and we get 20 divided by 18, right? That should get us the correct number. Yes, there we go. So just a little bit less than they should be. And 28.8889 times 9 is 260, which is the correct amount. Alright, so now we can send this across. write any center overflow. And since we had to destroy the throughput monitor to make space for the splitter, we should put a new one on now. It can go on there. And then we need to power this up, and I want to have 2 power lines for this just so that we don't end up using the entire thing. We want to have spare slots on our power lines so that we can connect them up to stuff later. So this one can connect in from this side. This one can finish off those couple. Those 2 are connected. And then that goes back there. We got all of them. And now they're going. Alright. So these ones over here have already... they've already filled up. Looks like, except for this last one, which is... no, these just aren't getting enough wire for some reason. Ah. Iron shortage? Yeah, looks like the iron supply has given up again. Well, that's disappointing. Of course, it happened at this exact moment. It looks like we have a train backlog that's at fault for that. So the train... I'm seeing lots of yellow warning lights, which means the trains have all failed. So that is urgent. Where did that happen? Back... I mean, all the way across the entire dang thing. Alright, cool. I do love it when everything breaks simultaneously. It's fine. I've said this before, but this is why load balancing is great, because stuff like this can happen, and then you come in and fix it, and then it all starts working again basically instantly. Alright, so what is the problem exactly? Like, where... because all of these guys are getting stuck in the traffic, but they're not the source of the traffic. They're just, like, very tangentially related to it. This could be a thing. Yeah, so that isn't a problem. Now there is a lot of space up here, but that's just because of this, which I think I want to change. So we take out that path signal, and we send it further up there. And then this gets a block signal back there. So that won't fix the problem. It'll just make this particular section a little bit less weird, so that at least that train can get out onto this. Alright, then over here we have those trains waiting inside the station. Let's see, let's just confirm all of the trains are basically broken except for some of them. Some of them are still working for some reason, which is frankly even more mysterious. Alright, so these trains are all waiting in line. These trains are all just waiting in line. And actually there are occasional trains moving the other way, which haven't gotten stuck yet, I guess, or have somehow unstuck themselves. Who knows? Alright, so you are presumably trying to get out here, but you can't because you've got a path signal into a path signal into a full block. So you're all waiting in line on this. And actually, it looks like they're moving. I mean, that train is moving, which means this train is moving, which means this train will start moving, and that should empty up space for that. So I don't think it was actually a full gridlock. I think it was just incredibly long traffic delays, which is also incredibly worrying, because I don't want there to be incredibly long traffic delays. I want things to be quick. But yeah, as we get up here, there's still gridlock back there, but it should be trickling backwards, and that should all be getting fixed. So I don't know what happened, whether this was another thing where me being physically present, like, caused things to calculate differently. Okay, what is that? That is suspicious. What are you doing, my good sir? Dune Desert Iron 2. I'm not crazy, right? You just came through this station for some reason? Why did you do that? Oh, because that's technically a legal path. And I guess you found that that was shorter, so you took it? Alright. Of course we're having these problems now. I don't want you to do that. Is there any way at all? And that was an iron train coming out of the coal there. Alright, how do I prevent you from going from there directly into there? Because that is the last thing that I want. Alright, in the meantime, the rest of that gridlock has resolved. They've all moved forwards, except for some of them. I just want to confirm, this isn't impacting our power, is it? Where's our sulfur train? It shouldn't be in that section of the factory. Yeah, okay, it was never in there, because it mostly just runs up and down the right side. Alright, so I did manage to spot something that shouldn't be happening here with this shortcut. So that is an actual coal train. It's supposed to be there. And then this is just a whole thing. They're working on it, and they'll get there eventually. Alright, so I need to, I guess, move this intersection point further back there so we can't go from here to there. Alright, so we take that out. And then that connects back there. So now you can't go from there into there because you would need to have turned earlier. So that solves that problem, at least. And what it doesn't solve, though, is the fact that this train system is clearly just not manageable at this point. We need to do something about all of this. I don't know if I want to drop what I'm doing and fix this, though. Like, it is still technically barely functional, I think. So I think what we have to do is just bear with it for now. And once we're done with the assembly director system, that will be our next priority. And that'll also give me some time to work out exactly what changes I need to make. And basically what I need to have happen is I need the... Okay, just thinking about this, the problem is that all of the hubs for all of the resources all go through basically just one choke point. This main line down here and into this roundabout. So if I change that So, you know, the iron is here, the limestone is over there, the copper is over there, that sort of thing, then the trains will be traveling a much larger portion of the entire map, which means they'll be more spaced out and there'll be less issues. So we're just going to need to make that change, which shouldn't be too difficult, although figuring out how to get all of the trains to go to the new stations is not going to be easy. I might just have to like stand here, wait for them to show up, and then change them. And that might take ages, especially because some of them are on very slow cycles. But we'll see. I might just be able to... If I just dismantle a train station, all of the trains that go there might just say, "Help, I've been dismantled." And I don't know where I'm going, and then I might be able to just track them down and fix them that way. So that would probably work. Alright, but it seems like everything here is going fine. As fine as things can go here, obviously. And the other option would be to split off, like, onto a second parallel train system, which I don't know how I would keep them separate, really. I guess we would just go a level up or down or something. And then those trains would be separate as much as possible from these ones. Like, we could put another row of train stations, like, above these that still get filled from these inputs, but feed onto a totally separate track network. And that would also help, but it would also require, you know, running a whole lot of additional tracks, probably dismantling and rebuilding like half of these factories here. But that is an option, to sort of do what I've done with like the oil hub and the iron hub, where I give them, basically force them to take different paths and everything else. So let's consider that, and then I'm just going to hypertube cannon back over to the factory and just continue working. So we have cables done. The next step is automated wiring. And then the step after that is, I believe, just... the cables only go to automated wiring, right? So then we take the cables and the automated wiring. We take the cables and the stators, we make automated wiring, then we make adaptive control units, and then we put in a couple of drone systems and get our final assemble director systems. So let's do that. Also, while we're here near the hub, I should do the Christmas Advent calendar thing. So let's head over this way, do the Advent calendar, and then hypertube back over to the factory. So we have up through, what, 10, right? We haven't done 11 or 12 yet. Let's see here. There's 13 in there. There's 18. There's 19. Alright. Number 11, where are you? There's 17. Some of these are pretty sneaky. And number 11 is apparently... oh, no, there it is. It's very obvious. Click on that. Ooh, 20 power shards. You love to see it. Certainly not going to complain about that. And then we need to find 12. There's 14... 12, 12, 12. Where are you? Just scanning around. There's 20, 22. Gosh, this one is weirdly different. There it is. It's a marshmallow. Got it. And it is It is a song.
A reminder that human creativity does have its limits, considering their obsessive insistence on continuing to make slightly different versions of every Fixmas song ever imagined.
See, I don't know if that's a sign of human creativity having limits, though. That really seems just like a sign of humans are so infinitely creative we can take the same thing and alter it forever and never run out of ways to alter it. Who knows? Anyways, that was fun. The power shards are nice. Now we can just head back over there. Alright. Let's get flying. Okay, so there could be slight complications in trying to build another train network a layer above, because there are a couple places, this is probably the biggest one, where I've extremely overhang the train network with factories. So that could be a problem. Alright, we have iron back, and it is doing fine. The boxes are filling back up again. So hopefully the train network doesn't fail again while I'm away, because that would be very annoying. Alright, so we've got our cables over here, and looks like these are still warming up. There's a slight dip there. I hope that's not anything significant. And then that is chillin', which is unsurprising since it's pretty far ahead of the whole system. Alright, so that is up to 480 as well. And then this should be doing whatever it does. Alright, so we have our cables, and it's 500 out of all of these, because it's half the wire. So, the good news is we don't need to worry about multiple fancy belts. We can just merge all of these up together. And I really should have used a blueprint for this. Probably had some really easy ones that I could use, but I just didn't find them immediately. The problem with not doing blueprints is I have to add all of these belts in, and it kind of sucks. I have to make sure they're lined up, which is going to be like this. Alright, so then I have to find the stators, which I honestly cannot remember where I left them. Then we have to connect all of these up. And Mark 1 belts are fine here, because these are 30-ish. And then we do these ones, and we're going to have to find the stators, match them up with these cables, and make our automated wiring. Alright. Should be pretty easy if that doesn't happen. And technically that doesn't break anything, it works just the same, but it looks horrible. So... Alright, then this has to stretch across that gap, and we just keep going back until they're all connected up. And I don't think we need a separate sink for the cables, since we're immediately going to be building the next row. And these are dead because the stacks are full, which will change soon. Where are the stators? Is this them over here? Yes. So we've got stators over on this side, we've got cables over on that side, so it makes sense to just build the automated wiring just straight over the center, right between the two. Ah, this is marginally too short. Alright, this whole factory is kind of scuffed. All the floors are on slightly different layers, So we're going to have to go over here and grab just a 4-meter wall up. And now we can build this over here. And this is gonna be a little bit cursed, but it's fine. So we need 10 assemblers for this, which means we're just gonna have to find a blueprint and spam it down until we get, I think it'll be 12. So, blueprints. Is computers an assembler blueprint? No, it's a manufacturer. I probably knew that. Electrode circuit boards is an assembly blueprint though, so let's grab that. And it's 4 of them, so we need to just get 3 of these. Alright, that's 1. That's 2. And that's 3. Alright, so now we have to set these as automated wiring and 25 divided by 12, which is 2.0 something, which checks out. So then we just copy paste those settings all the way across. And there. Now we just have to get our inputs in here. So we need, let's see, we're going to need a splitter for 1 to 3. And this, how much wire is this? It's a lot of cable. So each one of these is going to be 41 times 4, so like 160-ish. So Mark 3s on cable. And then obviously for the stators, it'll be only Mark 1s all the way. Alright, and then these need to be Mark 2s, which looks like they are, so that's convenient. So now we just have to get the cables into there. Then we go up here, drag an additional line of foundations, get this in, and across they go. Boom, boom, boom. Alright, so stators come up to there, and cables go up to there. Alright, so we need to actually do a little bit of navigation to get this above that without any problems. Then we go somewhere like there, nice and even location, not slightly off-centered like the smart splitter is here. I think I placed that backwards. This needs to take an input, and that goes there. So we have center overflow right any, so that is now functional. Then this comes around this way, curves around a little bit more, and then goes in. Alright, so that is that set up. Let's power these on real quick. Boop, boop, and boom. So we have filled up something there, and apparently we messed up the power lines in this blueprint. So let's get all of those, and we're fine now. Finally, we just bring in our Mark 5 belt over this way for the cable. So this goes over there somewhere, and then we just need to grab the belt. Pop that in there and have it input, the floor extend out a little bit. Alright, so we need to jog a little bit to the side to get all lined up nicely on the next floor, but that's fine. Then we just bring this around and in. Alright, so the stators are just making their way through. Now the cables are going, and they are obviously going real fast. I'm surprised they haven't reached it yet, although I guess the last couple steps are a little bit slow. Alright, any second now. No, still nothing? Is this functional? Alright, there. Now we have cable going in. Alright. So cables are going in. Stators are also pretty great timing, also making it just about now. And so this is now running. Alright, so we've got our automated wiring. And then this is something that I'm going to want to put in a sink real quick. Just for organization's sake, as usual. Having sinks every so often is a good idea. So that gets a smart splitter, and it gets a belt. So that's center overflow right any, and then this is powered up. Alright, so that's set, and what's going on over here? Looks like the iron is still having issues, which is quite annoying. And I assume it's just train issues as usual. Let's see here. There's limestone, there's sulfur. Yeah, it must just be that this path takes hilariously long. And I can't even find the ACU Iron 1 train. No idea where it is. Is that it? No, that's limestone. Who knows? Who knows? But regardless, this is going to continue being an issue. These last couple are much slower, so they take longer to drain out fully. But basically, this entire factory shuts down every time that happens. Some of these slower machines have the reserves to keep going, but it's not great. It's definitely not ideal. Alright, anyways, we've got automated wiring set up, so now we just need to make our adaptive control units. So, we need circuit boards, computers, heavy modular frames, and automated wiring. So, automated wiring is there. Where would the heavy modular frames be? Is this them up here? Yes. Heavy modular frames are there. Computers are... I feel like I remember them being over this way. Yes. These are our computers. And then the circuit boards ought to be somewhere as well. Yes, those are the circuit boards. So we've got circuit boards there, we've got computers there, we've got heavy modular frames up there, the tallest point of the factory so far, we've got automated wiring over there. So we're just going to bring all of those things up to this general area. So we're going to take heavy modular frames, go over this way. And how many manufacturers? We need 5 manufacturers for this, which is quite a few. So let's get all of these in. And then we're going to need a lot of space to the right, because this is going to be 3 manufacturer blueprints, which is pretty big. Alright, so, and we need it to not be the computer manufacturer blueprint, because that only is set up for 2 inputs. We need it to be the supercomputer manufacturer blueprint, because that's properly aligned for the right number of inputs. Alright, so we can align it like this, and make sure to line it up to the grid properly. And that should be acceptable. So we pop that in, that's 2. We should power that on just for hover pack reasons, since we're so high up. There we go. And then we need another 2 of those, and then we need to set recipes and stuff. So we get that, and let's actually keep this centered like that. And now we're missing iron plates temporarily. I forgot how many iron plates manufacturer blueprints took. Alright, so then we send that across, and these are going to be adaptive control units at 5/6. And we copy paste that all the way across. And that should be good. Now we need to set up the inputs to that. All these are small inputs, right? Yeah, 4s and 1s and less than 1s. So we can just go Mark 1 belts for all of these. So this goes like that, and goes 1, 2, and 3. Then we drop it down a level. You get a conveyor splitter, which goes 1, 2, and 3. We're going to need to make this a proper foundation. There we go. Alright, that should be good enough. So I'll run that row just so it's a nice square. Alright, so those are all set up. Now we just need to run in. So circuit boards and computers from there, heavy modular frames and automated wiring from there, and then we'll be good to go. And the iron is flowing again, which is, I mean, at least it's going sometimes, you know? It's not completely stopped. It seems like it's like 50-50-ish for now, which is pretty terrible, but manageable. Alright, so we need to get the computers over there. So there's a bunch of floors in between that, but I don't even think they matter mostly. I think we can just go directly over, and those floors just aren't going to ever be stretched out over this way, because we're basically done. Alright, so we're going to have to get this set up, and this might be too tall to go in one single try. So computers are going to go up there, and then this has to apparently come the rest of the way over. And then computers go up in there. So we have that. Our gargantuan lift for computers, and we need to make sure this is set up. Center overflow, right any. So now the computers will not be shoveled into the sink. Which, by the way, 788 coupons in there, 244 in my inventory. I could buy a golden nut right now. Although a large part of that is just because of the... what's it called? The Christmas giving me an extra 25 or 50 or whatever. Alright, so we're gonna need power lines up there. Just for hovering purposes. There we go. Now we need to extend this over there to the circuit boards. So this goes over this way, and then we're going to have to drop down to here so that we can hover. Then that goes there. And now this has to come up. And again, it has to come up in 2 batches because we are ridiculously high up here. We're skipping like half a dozen floors to do this. Okay. That goes in. Then comes down, and that's 25 circuit boards brought up once we set this to right any. And there go our circuit boards. And assuming that that's been split properly, that should be okay. And now we need to grab that power line just a little over so we can get up on top of this. If this had been just a little bit shorter, we wouldn't have needed that because we would have just been able to hover the top and then stand here. But sadly not quite possible. Alright, so that is here, and the computers are here. So now we can just bring both of them forwards and into our ACU production line. So like that. And a little bit more. We are almost there. We are almost there. We are going to want to fill in some of this space. Alright, so then these can make the corner like that. And then one of them has to go up to there, one of them goes in here. I'm going to have this one go in here. And like so. And then this one can come up here into a hole like that and across. So then that goes in there. Alright. So that's computers and circuit boards connected, and we're just going to have to wait very long and very slow belts, obviously. But it's more satisfying that way. Although it is going to mean that disruptions are more inconvenient. Alright, then I never set up the splitters for this side, so let's fix that real quick. We just have this going into all of these. That needs to be default mode in order to make the corner properly. And then we just have you just go directly across to that. And it's right any center overflow. Done. Alright, so now our next batch of heavy modular frames should make their way over there. And I think we're still having iron shortages. It seems to be trickling around here. You know, like the shortage takes a while to trickle through because of some of the very slow belts. Alright, then all we need is we need to go up here, get rid of that, and set this up, and then bring in the automated wiring. Why would you do that? Alright, you go in like that, you go in like that, and then across over to there. Alright, automated wiring is the last step. So let's bring this foundation all the way over to there. And this part of the factory is also a lot lower than that part. So we're gonna have hover pack problems and probably belt problems getting lifted all the way up. Alright. These are the automated wirings, right? Yes, there they go. It's weird. They had to go super fast until they hit that spot there, and then they just stop. And go back down to a slower speed. Alright, so this just goes straight up. Oh, are we able to make this in one go? Just barely not. Fantastic. Alright, so then this is going to go up like that, and then up the rest of the way. So we have that, and we already set this up. Cool. Alright, so now this just goes over and in, and we'll be done with the adaptive control unit part of the factory. So this, all we've been doing here is just increasing the amount of adaptive control units this place makes from 10 to 15, so that we can then throw those 15 alongside 7.5 supercomputers into the assembly director systems and call it a day. So this comes along, goes in there. Alright, so now we have that. It's going to take a very long time to get across, and also a very long time to even start loading once it does. It's going to take several minutes. In the meantime, I believe we set up a drone port up there. Yes, so we have a drone port there. I believe we have a drone port at the other place, the supercomputers. So let's bring those in now. Let's get some space for them. And both of those are fueled from the other side, so we don't need lots of extra drone ports, just two, one for each. So this drone port goes in and lines up there. This drone port goes in and lines up there. So this is ADS ACU input. Hooray for abbreviations. And you are going to ACU source. And you get a drone and half a stack of rocket fuel. Alright, now we just power these on, apparently. I always forget that you have to do that for these. There we go. So now this drone should be heading off. Then this is going to be ADS SC input. Once again, hooray for abbreviations. That's for supercomputers. Now if I can find it, supercomputer source. and give it a drone, and give it half a quarter stack of fuel, and that should now be going off as well. Alright, now we just need to put in the final part of the production line, which is just going to be over here. A nice simple 10 assemblers. It's kind of crazy that after all that it's just going into assemblers. Let's see here. Electrode circuit boards. These are assemblers. So we're going to get 3 of these in. And connect them all across. And then we'll be good. Make sure they're all facing the same way. That would be a problem. Okay, I also need to make sure not to fall to my death. So that power goes up there and across. And across one more. In there. Alright, now these power lines need to connect up to the last one. This one needs to connect over there. And then into the last one. And then these are assembly director systems. Alright, so this is 7.5 divided by 12. Which we just have to paste across all the way into all of these. And there we go. Now we just have to put the things in. So this goes across like so, and a little more. So as expected, the automated control unit 1 is already back. I had to travel like 6 inches. Of course, I decided that's what I was doing before I decided that this factory would be literally right here. So those all connect up. And actually, I wonder if I want to limit the output from the drones. I might want to do that, actually. We'll see if we can get to 7.5 and 5 respectively easily. Because if we can, that would be nice to keep this whole thing balanced properly. It's probably too difficult to be worth it, though. The supercomputers, let's see here. 60 divided by 7.5 is 8. Alright, that's actually pretty easy. So let's make sure to do that. For the adaptive control units, we don't actually need to, since it's going to just be perfect ratios anyways. But it makes sense to do so for the supercomputers because they are technically overproducing by quite a bit. Alright, so this is outputting its adaptive control units. This is still just starting, actually. It's about to start any second now once the automated wiring shows up. Alright, then we need to go up here, and we're going to need more space. We're going to need to do some nice, clever balancing real quick. So this belt goes up into there, like so. Then we need to just split this into 8 and then send all but one looping back, I think, is how that works. So, we have... No, why would you do that? So that connects into there. this connects into there. So that's half looped back. Then we have our other output, which is going to be this one, I guess. And that is another half looped back. So we have half there, we have a quarter here, and then I guess one of these is going to need to be that. And so you go there, you go there, you go there, and then you come out. Alright, that has to connect across. I think I got all the rest of these. So we have 60 there, 30 there, 15 there. Wait, no, we have 60 there, 30 there, 15 there, 7.5 there. Yes, so now we just have to set this to be priority from the sides so that those don't get bottlenecked, and we have to connect that across because that's important. And that should prevent this from draining more than the 7.5 supercomputers a minute. So then this goes across into all of those, and then this belt goes into that. There's going to be a bit of a starting surge there, and then they should just trickle on through. And I imagine this will be mostly full. Yeah, mostly full. This one's mostly full. Let's see. 60 divided by 5 would be 12, which is, yeah, that's a bit too much work to balance. Actually, wait. 60 divided by 15 is actually pretty easy. Yeah, let's balance those. So we have our priority merger there. So this splits it into 30s. That splits it into 15s. So one of the 30s goes back. One of the 15s goes back. The rest go forward. Like so. And those two get set to priority. And then we need this to also be priority and prioritize that. So now that should be 5, that should be 10, that should be 15. Unless I've forgotten to make a connection somewhere important. Yes, right there. Alright, so that's that. It'll take a little bit to warm up, but some of these are turning green temporarily at least, which means we have assembly director system production. And that's going, and that's going. The drones are doing drone things. And now we just need to... Why are these ones not connected properly? What was I doing here? This is just like completely incompetently designed by past me. So we can also, while we're going through this, set all of those down to these slower belts because they are not needed to be that fast. There we go. That goes in. All the rest of these connect across, and alright. That's that. And I mean, this output at least should run pretty stably for a while until these buffers drain, which will probably be a while because it's like a whole box, I think. Alright, then we take this and we are going to set this up And I think we just set this up to drone port and then drone port it back to the space elevator just instantly. So, we are still going to do the normal thing of having a splitter here, which will be a smart splitter, and it will be center, overflow, right, any. So the overflow goes into a sink, which we will power up, and then we need a storage container. Might as well be an industrial storage container, not like it's gonna matter much. Going there. We do not need this in dimensional storage. We're just gonna drone port it back to the space elevator. Alright, transport, drone port. We need 2 of these next to each other, one to provide fuel. Actually, we're gonna have a couple of these so we can do the fueling at the space elevator, just to standardize that. So then that goes in there, and this is ADS source. And we can power it on then, which that needs to be an upgraded power line. There we go. So now we will be filling that up with Assembly Director Systems, and then sending them back to the space elevator. So let's do that. Where is the space elevator? It's all the way on the other side of the map. Alright, well, let's respawn. Alright, so we respawn, and if I recall, I have this set up, which we dismantle that hypertube, convert it to point that way, swap to jetpack, and off we go. Alright, so we just gotta fly over here and get to the space elevator. This is going to be the first of these that I've set up to do this automatically, which will be quite convenient. Alright, so we have space over here. Is this the area where I set up my train track blueprint? I think it must be. Alright, so now we're over here. We can just get our drone port in. So let's grab a whole bunch of extra space, and we are going to get drone port here. And I don't know, just line it up real tight like that. Then that goes into there. This is space elevator input 1. Actually, let's just call this space elevator ADS input, because I'm pretty sure we're going to be needing this for this. I'm pretty sure this is one of the ones which carries over between phases and we use again, so we can have that. Alright, let's get that random power line connected across so that this is active. Then we need another drone port, which I guess can be right here. It won't be as convenient for the other space elevator inputs, but it'll be very convenient for this one. So this is space elevator refueler, and it also gets connected up to that. Okay, now both of you get drones. You are going to get some fuel and go to the rocket fuel source. Alright, then I need to grab another stack of packaged rocket fuel for myself. Split off half of you. Pop it in there. And then you go to ADS source. So hopefully the rocket fuel one will come back before this one does. Otherwise we might have a small problem, but I doubt it'll be an issue. So off they go. And should be all set up. So now the assembly director systems will get drone ported all the way back over here to the space elevator, where they will just get shoved in via this belt, and then we will have that finished. And that should be very straightforward and easy, especially since it's not like we're in a rush to get all of them in. I mean, we haven't even started the other 3 yet. So we're just going to get that finished now, and it'll be done by the time we get back. So let's respawn, and all right, do one last. We're gonna do another check of the ADS factory, which should be doing fine, but I want to confirm that. Well, actually, it'll probably be struggling with iron still, because of course it would be. Yeah, so still having those iron shortages, which makes it very difficult to tell how well everything is doing. I really wish iron would show up more reliably. So yeah, if we go up to here, these are somehow still running, just because very slow, I guess. And then everything up past this is dead, more or less. So this is about to finish this cycle and then be out of encased industrial beams and steel pipes, which we're not getting more of because of the iron shortage. Automated wiring, not getting any of that because of the iron shortage. Computers and circuit boards are doing fine though, so we've got that going for us. Now this input should be ensuring that the actual output will continue going for quite some time. So like if all we wanted was, what, 2/3 of this output, then we have that. And if all we wanted was this output temporarily, we have that. Unfortunately, I want more than that. Alright, so that drone just took off. It's hard to say how much it took with it, but I guess we'll find out in a moment when the number in the top right corner ticks up a little bit. So let's head over here and see where the ACU drone port is and see how much we've got left for it. It's probably going to be down on this level, right? Alright, so we've got that. Yeah, it's all the way over here. Alright, so we actually have a weird setup. We have it so that the storage box isn't helping out with this. So that means that this will actually drain relatively quickly and get back to normal production, which I guess I want that. So that should be fine. Now I could flip that switch and turn, I think, this entire factory off if I wanted to. And that might be a way of just like getting the iron situation temporarily resolved by just building up a giant buffer. But again, I don't really think that's what I want to be doing here. Alright, now the iron is flowing, and it's probably already near empty. Yep, already near empty. Somewhere in the realm of 100 items per minute delivered. And we need several thousand, I think, for all of this. The iron ore input we need is 930. And then there's also the iron ore for the rest of it. We do have this train here, which is not at all saturated. It's really only like partially done, which is quite confusing. So I would have thought that if the trains being slow was the issue, that shouldn't be a problem. Now it could be that they're just running in one directly after another, and that's the source of the issue. But it seems like more so there's some other problem with our iron, which has run out again, literally right before that resupply of iron came in. So at least it won't be delayed by too much, but yeah, so we need to check if the next iron train comes along. So that's ACU iron. If iron 2 shows up and isn't a full cargo, then we'll know that that's the problem. Not that I have even the slightest idea where iron 2 is. Alright, let's see here. Turbo motors. No, it's none of this stuff. It's none of that stuff. That's limestone. Aluminum bauxite is stuck for some reason. I guess I'd better go check that out to see if there's actually an issue, or no, it got there. Wait, no, it's just further away than I thought. All right, yeah, let's go check out what's going on with aluminum in the meantime, because that problem is reasonably likely to be connected. So we can fly up here and just sort of take this path over. These two factories are quite close to each other. Alright. Where is it? Oh, it's all the way up there in the input, not at the factory. Alright, that is a little surprising. I guess it's probably fine. Okay, so it's just sitting there doing nothing. Fortunately, it's close. So we're just going to slide jump on over. See what's going on here. Alright, aluminum bauxite. You are mostly full already, but you're going in for that. So this train is aluminum bauxite 2. Oh, these are one of the ones which we set to only leave if they're completely full. Which shouldn't be a problem because we have plenty of bauxite going in there. So I think that just straight up doesn't work. So we're just gonna save that, and I think we have to cancel the current docking to get that through, and now it can go off. I don't even know why this train is here if it's mostly full. Alright, while we're here, let's cruise on over to the iron and see if there's actually an iron input problem. I would have thought that we would have fixed that with our last batch of upgrades, but we might not have. So we're just gonna slide jump on over, get over all of that stuff, and then get through the Caterium. Now we've got the oil. Oil is looking fine as usual. Plenty of spare oil in all of those. Water is looking all messed up as usual. Fortunately, I don't use this. Alright, a little bit further. We've got limestone here, which is a little bit suspicious looking. And we've got one completely empty one amidst a bunch of others, which are mostly fine. So we might have a limestone shortage. I might have to check on that, but whatever it is, it's not as bad as whatever must be happening with the iron. Alright, so we have a train just left and a new train has already shown up. So these are incoming of thousands each, which is a good sign. And I guess it's just a question of like what order they show up in. Because if a train shows up like this immediately after a previous train shows up, then it's just sort of going to be starved no matter what. And there's not really much that I can do about that. Like, that's just sort of going to happen inevitably. And so this train is leaving with a couple hundred instead of thousands. And I guess that's going to be the problem with the iron output, is that the demand at that factory is so high that there isn't really tolerance for that sort of low input deliveries. Alright, let's think here. We need to upgrade this whole system. Now, one way of doing that, we could just make a separate iron hub, just like somewhere else. And that way we get all of the iron trains just not only out of this area, but out of the center area of the map entirely. Have them go somewhere else, maybe like just in the Dune Desert where the iron is actually produced would make sense. And then a lot of those trains wouldn't need to make it all the way into this area. So let's think. How are we going to do that? What I need to know is there some way of tracking down all of the trains that use this and sending them over? I actually don't have to. I could technically leave this place functional and just send some of the trains away and just have two iron hubs simultaneously, each taking half of the load. I don't know how much that would solve the problem, though, because then we would still have a lot of trains heading through the center area, and I want this to just be like a one clean fix that just resolves the problem permanently, as opposed to something that just like sets it back a little bit, and then we're gonna have to keep implementing new stuff later. So yeah, I think the solution is to move iron entirely out of this central area. So the way of doing that is, let's head over to the Dune Desert. That's where the iron starts anyways, so that part of the journey will be shorter. And I have this set up to face the wrong way, don't I? Yes. So we have to send our hypertube over that way. Swap to jetpack. And off we go. So we're going to need to make a little mini hub over here for just iron. And maybe limestone, but preferably not. Alright, so we're over here. And we don't even need... We could just have it be here, right? This Dune Desert iron is like our single destination for all of the iron trains, right? So like they all ultimately start from here. This is where the iron all comes from. So what if... So the problem is I don't want this to wind up overcrowding this, or like... Let me think, actually. I have to sit here and think for a bit. I do think I want it to be a separate hub from this, just because in the future we're going to have other iron trains from other parts of the map, potentially. Like, the Dune Desert isn't necessarily anywhere near being tapped out of iron, but I don't know, maybe it does just make sense to just convert this into the distributor and just not worry about all the internal steps of like transporting to a train station and then shipping over. But I think it's tricky. I could go either way on it. I think I'm going to just set up a distributor system like I had over there, just because it seems sensible. So we can have that be just in this area, just directly across from that, which should be a bit... I mean, it's going to be a bit of a pointless little train run that these take, but hopefully it'll make up for it for neatness in the future. Alright, so if I recall, we go 3 steps out, then we go railway blueprint there. Okay, then we have this go like that, and like that, and then we have them go across to there and to there, and then we have the lines going straight across. I don't normally do 4-way intersections, but I have done them briefly in the past, so we can just set that up. So now over here we have an input line and an output line, and we just need the input line to go into 2 train stations, the output line to come from a train station, and then that'll be that. Alright, so this train needs to go over this way a little to get out of the way. And something like that. Actually, no. So that's the output line, which I think I just want to go straight forwards, and then the input line to twist a little bit to get out of the way, just because it makes setting up the spacing easier for everything. Alright, so this gets a couple of rows of space. Well, let's grab some wire from the dimensional depot, because we're building multiple train stations, which always uses a hilariously high amount of wire. Alright, so then we need to expand this over that way. And hopefully that well, it's not. That's not going to be enough space. Just one zoop is basically never enough. But it should be a good start at least. Then we get a train station in. Okay, we actually need this to curve upwards like that. So now we have space left for that and train station. We leave 2 full tiles there, which should be enough. And let's leave some space over there for that. And then this goes in. And then we just have to have the space to put the other one in. Station 76, apparently. Which is kind of an insane number of stations when you think about it. There's definitely more efficient ways, like in terms of using space, of building train stations, but I like giving them space. Alright, so those 2 are in. Can I actually give these the same names as other stations? So this is going to be Iron Hub. And this is Iron Distributor. Alright, so then these go in like that, which should also power them up. And now we have... Okay, well we need to put the signals in for this. That's important. So you get a path signal going in, block signal going out, and you get all fixed. Alright, and that is upset because it just dead ends. Alright, so now we can set these freight platforms up. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we just have to get the other one in, which is going to need more space. So we extend that out back and then put this in. Okay, apparently we need 1 more row over this way. Like so. And now this goes in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so now we just need to get the input line across. And so we run some foundations along there. And then back a little bit. Okay, so this goes straight across here. And that should be far enough. Then these go in like that and in like that. Okay, finally we connect this back to here. It says it's going to turn too sharply. That's fine. You can go like that and then into there. Right, now we need to put signals on all of these things. So we are going to want a signal there, maybe, and a signal there, and a signal there. And then we go across to here and put some signals in. Did that get placed in the wrong way? Yes, it did. Thank you, block signal, very cool. Those 2 go in, and now this should be just about all set up. Then final step is to just pump these across. Like this. And like that. Alright, so these get set to unload. And the other ones should be set to load. Alright, so now this is all set up. We also have managed to produce 167 assembly director systems in the meantime. So that's pretty cool. Alright, now we've got these. Now we just need to get the trains over here, which is gonna be easier said than done. Now, I've given these the same names as the other one, which in Factorio would cause them all to just go over here just independently if they feel like it. But this is not Factorio. Okay, so this is another slight risk here. The rocket fuel sulfur runs up through this area. So pushing traffic up here might cause the entire factory to explode. Because if that gets caught in a traffic jam, it's basically all over. So hopefully that just doesn't happen. Hopefully that just does not happen. Oh, these were called Iron Hub 1 and Iron Distributor 1. So they don't actually have the literal exact same names. Am I allowed to call this Iron Hub 1? I am, apparently. And I'm apparently also allowed to call that Iron Distributor 1. Now if we go into our map, we have Iron Hub 1, Iron Distributor 1. Then if we scroll all the way down to the bottom, maybe it's also in there. Yes. So we've got those two in there. I don't want these to have those numbers. I want it to be clear which one is which. Alright. Now we just have to go around to all of the various trains in the world and tell them to stop going down to there and come here instead. Alright, this, meanwhile, is still filling quite nicely. And with how cartoonishly short this track is, I doubt we're going to need 2 trains on this line for the Dune Desert iron production to the hub. So I might only need to swap one over. We'll see. Now, I haven't seen a train show up over here in quite some time. The rocket fuel sulfur is going back. Good for it. The Dune Desert water is coming along. I don't know if that entire train line even works at all. There's limestone, there's oil. Alright, so the train is going past. Alright, there is apparently some water in that train somehow. Just like one single wagon's worth. Although that might be because I messed up the settings for the water hub and just don't have it set to give both to unload to all of 5 of the cars. I definitely made that mistake for one of them, and I think it was water, so that's probably why that's happening. Alright. Dune Desert Iron is making its way over. So we need to grab it and send it into here as opposed to over there. And obviously doing this, we're going to break like absolutely everything until we get all of these set over. And I do want to try dismantling the other ones and seeing if all of the trains going there get errors. Because if they do, that would be hugely convenient for just letting me track them down. Alright, so you are going to, instead of going to Iron Hub 1, you're going to go to Iron Hub. Alright. So that is saved, and you can now do your thing. So that's coal and limestone shortly after it. That's northern oil. And then there's all sorts of iron business going on in various other places. Let's respawn and just hang out here and fix trains as they go. I just missed that one. But here's this one. So you go to Iron Distributor instead of Iron Distributor 1, save changes, and hop on out. So you're not even gonna do anything there. Alright, here is ACU Iron. You are going to go to Iron Distributor instead of Iron Distributor 1. Save changes, off you go. And we just have to keep on doing that whenever a new train shows up. There's ACU Iron 2. I don't know where you're going. So yeah, eventually the other Dune Desert Iron train will make its way down here, which I actually think that train specifically will leave filling this up for the moment. Because I don't want everything to completely crash. It would be convenient to have it still marginally functional in the short term. Alright, here comes another train that's turbo motor iron. So we can get it out of the way as well. Alright, so you go to Iron Distributor and not Iron Distributor 1. Save that, and off you go. Now, just camping here and waiting for trains to pass through is not going to work for all of them, because some of them just are very, very slow and only show up occasionally. Like that auto miner iron over there is a good example, where one wagon load can fulfill it for ages. Alright, but we can at least get some of the high priority stuff out of the way. And the ones that make the trip most frequently are also the ones which will be most benefited by having them just out of the way somewhere else. It's also possible that some of those will have to head through this intersection anyways, like if they're trying to get over to there, for example, then there's not much we can do about that. But oh, here's Iron Train, actually. This is one of the low frequency ones, so we're a bit lucky to have it show up. Because this is the Iron Rods. I named this back when I was thinking I was doing something different with our setups, and I never fixed it. Iron Distributor. Off you go. But in general, on average, having these guys go out over that way should improve things. And if they don't improve things, then I guess we're just doomed. I'll have to figure something else out, like that secondary train line situation, where we have like just a second story of trains above the first one. But that would also just take a long time to build that. It's like I would have to build the entire train system again, basically, which would really suck. So hopefully this will work because it's at least a bit easier to do. It is going to require a bit of standing around and waiting, but that's fine. I'm pretty patient. So we're just going to hang out here and look for iron trains showing up. And then eventually we're going to have to go out and proactively look for them. But for now, let's see here. I do see potentially... Oh no, that's the modular engine factory over there. So it's just sitting there doing nothing. I'm gonna wait for another couple minutes here, and then we're gonna start hunting down factories with iron trains in them and make sure that they're set properly. And it is probably going to be a fair bit quieter around here now, because iron is the most common resource. So shoving it out of the way will hopefully be a massive improvement in traffic. And if not, then I'll just be sad. And we can then move, like, oil is another pretty common resource, which I can send off somewhere else. And then eventually, we just do that enough times, all the resources will be scattered throughout the map, and then I can even, like, make it so that this central intersection isn't the only, like, convenient intersection. And then once that happens, we should be able to get traffic under control. You also occasionally see drones flying around now, which is quite fun. So that is from the bauxite hub. I don't know what that drone is doing. Alright, it's been quite a while since I've seen a train coming in here, which is a little bit strange. Is that... No, that's the Dune Desert Water train, which is doing whatever the heck it does. That's another train which I could probably just, like, remove entirely. And that would save... What are you doing? Alright, you've just done something unhinged. Really, that's a shortcut you're willing to take. Through... What? Why did you do that? How is that helpful at all? I don't understand how making that shortcut as opposed to just coming around here in the first place is supposedly beneficial. I don't even know how it got there. I don't even know how it got there in any way that makes sense. But whatever is going on there is probably a part of the reason for the horrible train throughput. So let's grab you. Edit timetable. Iron distributor. No iron distributor 1. Save changes. Off you go. There's Dune Desert Iron 2. And so let's just grab it off of this as well, because I am just going to shut this down entirely. Alright, so we get you, edit timetable, Iron Hub, no more Iron Hub 1, save changes, off you go. Alright, so now you should just return and not bother us here anymore. Got a little bit of a traffic jam in there, but it's not a concern really. Alright, we're just gonna wait a little bit longer. But if we've gotten most of the high frequency ones, then we should have solved most of the traffic problem. And the low frequency ones, this is no longer getting refilled at all, because I just rejected the last iron train, which would come here. So that once this runs out, the ones which run low frequency should start running high frequency again, and I'll be able to check them. And obviously that might take a couple hours for their internal stockpiles to drain, or it might take forever if they're just like jammed, but it should be okay. Alright, now I want to actually I want to do something risky. Let's save first, and there's a very high chance that I reload the save. So if I just dismantle you, are there now a million trains scattered around which are like, help, I don't know where to go? Or will they get that warning eventually? Let's head north a bit to this auto miner iron, because it is just sitting peacefully in station, not causing problems. Alright, it looks like it should be almost empty though. It's got 1,000 left in that. These are all mostly empty. And this is all running, making, well, presumably making automated miners and sinking them. This is such overkill for automated miner production, but that's what we're all about here, I guess. Alright, so let's help this guy drain faster. So first, let's get some of this extra junk out of my inventory, and I'm going to then immediately fill that space up with more extra junk. Alright, so we can clear that out, and we can clear that out. So we can't do anything about that, but now it's at least the only one draining. And I suppose we can go in here and clear all of these so that goes faster. Alright, cool. Now let's get rid of all that iron. So now this should go quicker. And it's just going out basically as fast as this belt can handle, which is fine by me. Alright, so there is 1,132 iron left in that train car. And this should be... Okay, so when you delete that, it doesn't scare them and make them think they don't know where to go. It just makes them stay where they are permanently, which I don't want. Alright, so that is no good. We are going to just load this save that I had just made before I dismantled that train station, because that is going to make it basically impossible to track them down if they don't. I was really hoping that, you know, they'd give a warning, like, warning, can't find next station, that sort of thing, because I dismantled it. And that would have made it a lot easier for me to catch all of them. But, nope. No such luck. Now we're going to have to load, and this takes a while. The joys of massive convoluted save games with 20 billion things in them. Takes a while to load. Alright, so now let's just let's just go around and flip all of these over manually. So we can grab this one, and it's not exactly the most pressing of trains to fix, but we can do that. Alright, so you lose iron distributor 1, gain iron distributor. There you go. Alright, now I don't really want to take a tour of every single train in the entire factory, because like so many of these guys use iron. So I think what would be easier would be actually... I just had a brilliant idea. Well, I say brilliant, it's not incredible, but... So if I don't dismantle the station, but I make it impossible to reach, then they should flag warnings. Alright, so if I just cut that off, and cut that off for good measure. So now iron distributor 1 is unreachable. So now, whenever a train wants to go to iron distributor 1, instead of doing that, now it should get a warning sign. I've seen those warning signs before, so I know that they exist. So let's get over to this guy. You are... Do you not even have iron? Supercomputer, copper, caterium, crude oil. How does this not have iron, or is that just a different train system? There might just be different trains. There are more train stations over here. What are you guys doing? Oh, you're fused frames? You're not going to have iron. Turbo motor, I believe we already fixed. Yeah, I think we just should wait. Eventually they'll have their errors, and then we'll know. And it might even have been easier to just cut the outputs so that the trains will get stuck once they're in the iron ore distributor, and then we won't have to go halfway across the map to track them down, but either way works. Either way works. As long as we do one of the two, it's okay. And yeah, let's... Well, so the problem with doing it that way would be that if a couple get backed up in here, it could be somewhat unpleasant. It might cut off the oil input, for example, which I don't want. So yeah, we're just going to leave it like this, and then... I mean, it's going to be hard to find the errors in all of this mess. What is that? What is that drone doing? What are you up to? Where even are you? Alright, it seems to have stopped. So that's good. I'm glad that you stopped. Alright, so this is our ornaments, by the way. I never... But the next time I play, it's going to be the next unlock, so I do want to make sure that these are at least in a box so that we have more than 100 of them, because that might not be enough. And then let's just confirm that I actually remember to unlock everything. Yes, I did. So yeah, we're gonna need 400 ornaments in order to unlock the next Fixmas Day thing. The next Fixmas stage, so we're definitely going to want to send these into a box. So that can run. So that's all fine. Let's see, what else is there left to do? I don't know. Let's go and check on our modular engines, because I'm fairly certain that requires iron. And I want to see what happens when it gets all drained out. So this, we're going to want... I really wish I could figure out how to get the hypertube junctions functioning, but I have never, at least straight out of a hypertube cannon, which might be the problem, I've never been able to control which path I go down on those. So you just have to give it so that there's only one path each time. Alright, so we fly over to modular engines. And what have you guys got in here? We've got water, oil, coal, and iron. And sure enough, the iron train is, as I'd hoped, flagging me a warning. And I think, or if I'm not standing on top of it, I'd be able to see that from the map. Alright, station unreachable. Yes, I know. So you are going to go to Iron Distributor and lose Iron Distributor 1. And now you should be all set and ready to go. And you shouldn't need to go through the center at all for this. You should be able to just go up the path along that way and then have it all sorted out. I actually should have just hopped on that because I actually want to go check that area out next time. The next thing I want to do is actually check that the new distributor is working. Because I just sort of set it up and left, which is not necessarily the smartest thing to do. It looks like we already have a bit of a backup over here. Just got 3 trains in a row. Soon to be 4. Alright. Well, why are you still sitting there? Excuse me? Can you just go forwards, please? What is your problem? Is it because of how many consecutive path signals there are, or were you just waiting preemptively for that to go through? You must have been just waiting preemptively for that guy to go through. Alright, well that's not ideal. I think what we need to do is, if we send that path signal all the way up there and then just put a block signal here, we should be able to make that work out better. So that goes in, and we're going to cause some errors in the short term, but then that goes in and that should be all fixed. So yeah, the problem is that I do seem to have just like a couple too many path signals around, which can cause them to want to wait for much longer than is otherwise necessary. Alright, now why are you waiting here? Oh, are you just going in there? You're another oil train? Yeah, so you are, I guess, waiting for a perfectly legitimate reason. Although, I want you to be waiting in here. So this doesn't have any signals there, or we can put another signal at the back of this. So there's plenty of space in this area for a train to wait, so we don't need to worry about that. Alright, the ridiculous water train is passing through as well. And that's all good. Alright, this is a limestone train, which is mostly empty. It's headed in the right direction, though, so let's just follow it down. So we can just take this train. It'll get us most of the way there, at least, I think this is going to be taking a left at the next intersection where we need to take a right, or something along those lines. But it should be fine. Meanwhile, assembly director systems are trickling up. We're most of the way done at this point. So probably just another couple of trips, and then that will be done. So that's exciting. Alright, we're going here. We're able to... No, we do end up stopping at this intersection, although is that because we're going left? No, that's the sulfur. Alright, I don't know why we slowed down there, but we didn't even fully stop. So that's okay. So yeah, here this train is about to go left, and I want to go right. Or straight, I guess, technically. Bit of a complicated intersection, but whatever. The trains are smart. They can handle it. Alright, so that is the auto miner iron, and it's going that way. It's bypassing the main intersection entirely, which should save on all sorts of traffic. Alright, now this is getting to be just a little bit ridiculous. Like, this train is gonna go right across over to there. Meanwhile, this train is going to come in to here. And there's just no real need for that. So yeah, these trains going back and forth is going to cause a lot of traffic on this intersection. So I think what I want is... you go there, wait... Actually, hang on. That one's fine. It's this one, which we want you to just wait here until you're fully loaded or unloaded. And that way you should spend a significant amount of time, unless there's significant traffic jams, you should spend most of your time just sitting in here waiting. And alright, you left though. Did I just fail to set that properly? Iron hub, fully loaded, unloaded, and wait for 0 seconds. Save changes, off you go. Sometimes it can be a bit finicky with that sort of thing for whatever reason. And then you need to do the same thing. Iron hub until fully loaded or unloaded, and wait for 0 seconds. Save changes, and off you go. Alright, so that should clear that up. And you're doing some stuff. It's obviously going to take a lot of work just to fill this entire buffer system, so the fact that they're running insanely quickly isn't necessarily a bad thing at the moment. Okay, now let's open up the map and see if we find any trains that are yelling at us. Can I just... let's see, can I just hide just like any of this stuff? Show hide all on compass. Oh, show hide all on map. There we go. So that's going to get rid of a lot of clutter. And then we've got something going on over here with the automated control units. Other than that, though, looks like the trains are mostly minding their business. Alright, so we're going to have to go and investigate whatever the heck that is. For now, this seems to be mostly functioning, question mark. Like, at least it's not completely failed. We are transporting resources from those trains over to these trains, which in the short term is all that we really need to be doing here. And these trains are recording some outgoing items, which is the important part. Alright, and the modular engines are also arriving. Okay. Will this cause problems with having multiple trains waiting in here? Yes. So having 2 iron trains in here could very easily cut off these iron trains from getting in, which would be bad. So, in order to solve that, we need to do something, and I don't know what. Alright, we already have an extra train waiting in here, and we're getting a third. Yikes. This is certainly very busy. Alright, I think that because of that reason we actually can't do this, unfortunately. So this is going to have to be single unloads, because we just don't have the physical space in the station to manage them separately, which maybe I should have considered and set up properly, but I didn't. Alright, then let's go over here and change this one back as well. So you get this set, and off you go. Yeah, all sorts of iron trains are showing up here now. And most of them are bypassing the central zone, which is pretty cool for me. Alright, this train needs to... You need to move on. And I did set this right. Yes, I did. Alright, so you just need to move on and get the rest of this stuff delivered. All these outputs are cooking along. And there's just so many trains in here that it's kind of just difficult in general. But that's fine. They can just do that. Because we can only cram 2 belts of output into these things. And I wonder, actually, we might be able to speed it up quite a bit with industrial storage crates, so that it can at least output something while this is filled. Yeah, let's do that. So we're gonna take those out and get industrial storage crates in. And then you need to just go across just like you were. And so now that will at least make it so that there's can only be... so that effectively there's only one disruption at a time. So those close. That goes in. And that goes across. That goes across. And we just have to keep doing this for all of them. So we grab that, pop it in, and send it across. We also have that other potential gridlock over at the automated control units, which we're going to need to head over and fix soon. But I just want to get this done first while we're here. And hopefully this should stabilize out the iron situation. There we go. That's all in. So that, yeah, there are like a billion trains just constantly doing stuff in this train station, which is not ideal, but it's better that they're doing it all the way over here than getting mixed up in the mess with all of the other types of trains. So this is... The fact that there's this much traffic over here is a very, very strong justification for us doing this. Alright, now did that train down here ever get fixed? No, you... Well, I mean, you're not giving warning signs anymore, but you don't look correct. That's for sure. So let's make our way over there and see what's going on. We're just gonna slide jump on over. It's a shame we missed the train again, but your timing has to be really precise in order to catch them. So it is what it is. Alright, off we go. And just gotta make it over there. Alright, a little bit more slide jumping. I feel like we're making good... Oh, that was a bad slide jump there. I'm pretty sure it's faster if you, like, hardly ever start the slide animation. Oh, that is just a vibe, so who knows. Alright. ACU iron over here. Wait, this is actually good, right? So this train is just emptying out, and there's already another train right behind it ready to go. Now this train is weirdly not full. We're gonna have to check that out. But if there's a train waiting when the other train leaves, that's great. And this actually all looks correct. I mean, that looks entirely saturated and filled up. So hopefully that was just that train now being delivered from the new iron distributor. It's just a much faster process because we don't have to go through the center at all. We just have to go up this right line. So let's sit on here and just follow this locomotive around. The center box isn't draining as fast. How much is in that still? There's still like 700 in there. And there are some reserves in all of those. This one weirdly has a lot of spare. Does this outside one also? Yes. So this is because of our balancing not being 100% even. But as long as it's relatively close, like as long as we have multiple full belts going, it should be okay. And like if that other train makes it back here by the time this one leaves again, like this one did, then we're just completely solid and in the clear forever, basically. So I would like to see that happen. There's HMF iron. That one is still going up the old paths. I don't remember fixing it, although I might have just forgotten. Alright, that's still showing 732, but I think the way it works is it waits until there's fully enough space for it to unload. Yeah, the HMF iron train looks like it is heading up this way, which means it must be doing it correctly. Alright, so there are trains in that, and there are more showing up. That ACU iron train is weirdly sitting in that station for a while. I don't know why it's doing that. It's been there for a while. Is it just a traffic jam? It must have just been a traffic thing, because it's going now. And speaking of which, we are also going to be going now. And I mean, the other iron train is going to be making its way back just like any second. And we've only just left. So that's a very good sign. And we're just going to follow this along until we intersect with the other one, and then we're going to hop on it and see what the situation is like when we get back. So that should be... No, that's some oil train. Or that's the water, maybe? I don't know. Then this up here is the ACU iron, so let's leave locomotive, hop over here, get in this one. So, once we get back to the point where it's slower, like, the previous locomotive has not been gone for that long, so I would expect that we're still all good on the iron supply over here. And we're slowing down to make our turn. In we go. Alright, now that we're here, let's hop out, and these look all full. So it's a full train delivery, and those reserves are completely stocked up. And I imagine that these ones will be as well. Yes, except for the even numbered ones. So I might want to fix that, but honestly, I think it's fine. Like, we've clearly been looking at it here and it's been working. Like, the trains, the outer three can last long enough to support it, especially now that it's just dramatically more efficient. Alright, but now, since we have had solid production rates for a while, we should be able to just run around and confirm based on green lights if everything is working. I do see yellow lights over here. What's your problem? You are short on circuit boards. Alright, back to regular old factory debugging instead of having to stare at trains all day. Alright, so the circuit board production, we've got 100% there, and there, and probably here as well. Alright, so if circuit board production is 100%, yes, I see we are sinking a bunch. Alright, so why are we sinking more circuit boards than we need? Why is that not using as many circuit boards as we need? And why is this getting stiffed? So this is 10, 20, 30, 40 circuit boards required over here. And we are producing presumably plenty if we're sinking a whole bunch. So is this just a problem of these splitters not lining up correctly? Alright, so we have left any center overflow. This is a Mark 1 belt, so that's 60. And so it's going to be 20, 20, and 20. So we have 20 going that way, 40 going this way. Right? That should be correct then. What is going wrong with that? I guess it could be that because this is such a fast belt, we're having issues. It's supposed to be like, what, 65 circuit boards or something total? Yeah, 65 total circuit boards being split 40, 25. Now, I think the issue is that they come in giant bursts. It's a somewhat familiar issue that we have all the time. So we can set that to a Mark 1 belt, right? Because if it's 65 total, and that's 7.2, then that and everything past is going to be 60-some. So then we can make that all a Mark 2 belt to help mitigate it even more. And the goal is to just make this as even as possible. It's showing 90 for some reason. Is there a backlog anywhere in here? No. These are all doing fine. It's just the bursts getting evened out, I guess. Alright, now this is still showing... It's showing an average of 20. Have I messed up? No, that's definitely 40. Okay, it is going up. Now it's alternating between 30 and 60, which seems like 40 to me. So I think that solved it. Hopefully it'll be at least like 99.9% there. If it's very slightly off and like something occasionally gets sunk here, I'm not going to cry too hard about it. But if it's like it is now, where it's just an absolute mess, and most of it's getting sunk, then that's obviously not good. Alright, now this has seemingly stabilized at 40. Alright, problem solved. That's our computer production fixed. And then we're going to have to just wait a little bit for that to trickle through. Fortunately, computers only go like directly into the end product, so all the other intermediate stuff shouldn't be affected by that too much. Okay, this fuel production has a bit of backlog. Are these guys not going fast enough? 100, 100, 100. Yeah, I mean, I see 100 across the board there, and they weren't affected by the iron issues, so they should be fine. Alright, now we head over this way. And we've got all sorts of green over here, although I do see some yellow. Seems like the left one of every 4 is yellow. Why is that? No output. Oh, I see. Okay. It's that. That problem is over here as well. So let's get those all fixed. And this one's just barely gonna even fit. I'll be a little bit surprised if that even works. Yeah, okay, it definitely doesn't. Okay, so we're going to need to take that out. Can we wrap you around like that? No, not easily. So instead, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to like go up and then over, and then we can bring you down in that side, which is absolutely horrific. I'm not a fan of that, but if it works, it works. And that's the automated wiring done. And this is going to be going at 60 for a while that fixes that problem. All the rest of this, I see a lot of green. I do see yellow in the old factory, though. So let's head over there and investigate that real quick, give the rest of this a chance to stabilize a bit. Okay. Yeah, there is definitely a lot of yellow there. And ACU Iron 2 is waiting unusually long. Oh, but that's just fine. I'm not worried about that, actually. Okay, so you are not getting enough cable. And that's you specifically. So I want to trace back the exact line of machines, just in case it's something weird and local. You are not getting enough rubber. Neither of you are. So let's follow this rubber belt up. And it is going to be just merged from this whole system here. And I don't see anywhere where there's significant saturation, so if there's no backlog, it must be either a backlog further up the chain or a production issue. And I suspect it's going to be a production issue. I suspect that what's probably happened is that something weird has happened with our oil production to cause this. That's not rubber. That's something different. Alright, so this is the rubber line. We have 480 that way, and this is 60 instead of 109.596. So the fact that it's exactly 60 makes me think, yes, I whoopsied a belt in here. This belt is supposed to be Mark II. And wait, what? Does that just feed only? Something is wrong there. It's also supposed to be feeding from this, which isn't running at all. Alright, so that belt could have been 60. It would have been correct if this were working, but this is running at 0%. Apparently it's just never been running. Alright. Oh god, it's this. I remember this. Okay. What on earth is going on here? Well, this is supposed to do some load balancing somewhere to get all of these values correct. And, okay, we just have to figure this out. So this goes from here, which goes from here, which goes from here. So it should be plastic. So there's a plastic shortage somewhere, is what I'm pretty sure, right? We're just gonna have to go along this line somewhere. And one of these... Alright, so you are the last rubber, I think, and then all the rest of these are plastic inputs. So these are showing 100% so far. We'll see if that lasts when we get down to the end of the row. Okay, that one's not getting any rubber. Is it just that one? Yeah, so it's just this one specifically is not getting rubber. And it isn't getting rubber because this machine isn't getting plastic. And this machine isn't getting plastic because this belt from all the way over here isn't doing anything. Alright, interesting. So it seems to be a bit of a recursive loop. So there's not enough plastic getting down here to the end, which means there's not enough plastic getting into these machines, which means that there's not enough rubber getting into those machines, which means there's not enough plastic getting down there. Alright, so let's... I'm gonna have to check my work here. This is the worst. I'm gonna have to actually like redo this calculations to see if it's correct or not. Alright, well, let's see here. We've got this priority merger with a couple of guys going in. We split it so that half goes that way and half goes that way. Then we split it again. So this is a quarter. This is an eighth, which goes back. Alright. Actually, I need to just write down like all the numbers on all the belts at every spot, what they're supposed to be. So let's head over this way. So the total plastic here is 33.064 plus a bunch of 60s. 60, 120, 180, 240, 300. Alright, so this is 333.064 plastic. As of here, let's get a sign for that. Organization label sign. So this is 333.064 plastic. I don't need to write plastic. I have the icons for that. 333.064. That's what it should be. Then, each of these take out 60 plastic. So that is 60. That is 120. That is 180. That is 240. That is 300. And this is 360. All right. What the? Oh, was there an extra batch out back here that I forgot about? Is that what's going on here? No, these guys are not connected in with that at all. They're doing something completely separate. So am I just bad at math? Is that what happened here? This is 60, 120, 180, 240, 300. No, this is 360. I just messed up that time. 60, 120, 180, 240, 300, 360. So that's 393.064. So let's make that fix. I just missed one. I just miscounted one. So we have 393.064 there. Then we have 60, 120, 180, 240, 300, 360. So the belt back here, if I'm correct, is our 33.064 number. And let's get that marked in. So this is plastic. Select 33.064 plastic is what should theoretically be on that belt at this location. So what we do then is we need to split that into 24.798, and then the other output is all the way over here at 8.266. So 8.266 there. Let's get that marked down. So this belt here is meant to be 8.266. And I should just type plastic. There we go. So that is meant to be 8.266. This is meant to be 24.798. So you are plastic and 24.798. So 8.266 plus 24.798 is 33.064. So that checks out, right? Because this is 33.064. So that's a good sign. And then we have divided by 33.064 is exactly a quarter. So all of this has to do is send a quarter in one direction and 3/4 in the other direction. So with that in mind, what on earth is all this? So we have this belt going forwards, then we have half going that way, half going that way. So then these two belts are each a quarter. So that is the full, that is a half, that is a quarter, that's a quarter. Then this belt going back is an eighth. This belt going forward is an eighth. This belt going forward was a quarter, right? So we have a quarter plus an eighth. Why did I do this? Like, actually, what on earth? Why is all of this the way that it is? It's actually just a very simple split. What on earth was I cooking here? I have no idea. All right, let's get signs in so I can keep track of all this mess. So that is a half. That is a quarter. Then this is an eighth. But it's not that simple because that eighth merges back into here. So, gosh, how does that work? So that makes this total. I feel like this is all just completely wrong. Because, I mean, this loop back means the whole thing is very much not simple. So this is 9/8 actually, and this... Okay, yeah, no, I'm just going to rebuild this. It's a simple split of 1/4 and 3/4. I don't know why it has to be this way. Unless I am doing the math wrong again, which is very possible. All we need to do is literally just like... I kind of want to know what I was doing here, though, is the thing. That's what I want to know. Like, what did I think was happening here? Because the correct solution is easy. I'm more interested in what on earth the stupid solution I had was. Like, what is this? We split this belt into two, and then we just merge them back up with themselves immediately. Like, that accomplished nothing. Why did I do that? What did I think was going on there? What is this? So we take all of those and we merge that up with this. And yeah, okay. What am I looking at here? So this, maybe this branch is easier. So this is a half of whatever this input is. Then we split that and again immediately merge them back up for no discernible reason. And then here, oh, I know what I was doing. I know what I was doing here. I was thinking in individual steps. So I was thinking, you know, we have to get a quarter out of this, so I'm going to split it into 4. and then merge 3 of the fourths up, and then send 1 of the fourths out. So that's what I'm thinking there. So that is getting... Alright, so if I look at it from that angle, then this splits into 2. So now we have it in halves. We have that one half and this half. Then we split it into 2 again. So we have it in fourths going into this. So at that point in this production line, I would merge up 3 of those fourths, send them there, send the fourth over there. That is not what I did. Instead, I merged up some 3/4 there and go forwards, 1/4 there. No, well, these are eighths now, so that's 1/8 going back. That's 3/8 going forwards into this. Then we have this, which is another 3/8 going in. So that's 6/8, which is 3/4, which is correct. And then, but then this is only an eighth. This isn't the right number. If I'd been doing this correctly, this belt, instead of looping back here, should have gone over there. I think that is ultimately where I went wrong here. So, in the spirit of keeping my old design the way it is, I'm going to make that fix. So, this has to go up a level, which is apparently not easy. Jeez, just go up a level. There we go. It goes over this way, all the way over to that way, and then we just merge that up with that, send that forwards, and now let's just confirm. So we have halves there. So going into those 2 splitters are halves. Going into these 4 splitters are fourths. Out of these 4 splitters are eighths. So we have 1/8 and 2/8 going over there to make a quarter. Then we have 6/8 going and merging up in there to make 3/4. That is correct. I don't know why I did it this way. And I don't know what the loop back was for, but we've managed to fix it while preserving the main general idea of this plan here. I really just want to know what the loop back was for, but I don't think that's ever going to happen, because I think it was just objectively a mistake. Because then that makes this all way more complicated than it otherwise needs to be. So then, I guess it makes it sevenths, right? So then we send 6/7 into here and 1/7 into there, which is, I mean, it's not far off, but it's also definitely not correct. At least not from my more recent calculation of 8.266 divided by 33.064 is exactly a quarter. Yes. So, now that we have that, we just need to jumpstart this again. So I happen to have some rubber in my inventory, so you get some rubber. Actually, are you just an output? Yeah, you're just an output. You aren't going to be benefited at all from that. We need to run back over here and fill up this guy, I think. Rubber. You get a stack of rubber. So that will go over here, feed into this, which will then make the extra 33.064 plastic that we need in order for this whole thing to run. Alright, I think that's mission success. There seem to be other problems. This is probably an output limitation problem. if I had to guess. Yes, that's that problem, which is now solved. Okay. Finally, let's check on this ACU Iron 2 thing, because it is still giving me a warning light. It's directly beneath me. We just gotta get down a couple levels. Alright, so you are chilling in there. And yeah, okay, you just had to be a little bit more patient. Just had to be a little bit more patient and you would have gotten here eventually. And that's fine. So it does look like we got quite a bit low on iron here. But we still had one full box going. And these are still full. It looks like that was enough to keep it up. So that's that. I think I mean, this is as good a stopping point as any. We've fixed a significant issue in our old factory. We've finished our assembly director systems, and we've even made a drastic improvement to the train situation. So now all the iron trains are out of the center, which should also just be like marginal improvements for everything else. Obviously not quite as good as the iron improvements got from sending them all the way over there, but the train situation should be in check for now at least. And we have finished one of our 4 project parts. So next time we're going to be back on Monday, and we're going to be doing more Christmas stuff, or Fixmas stuff, sorry. We're doing more Fixmas stuff, and we are probably going to be spending another look at the train system, probably another look at the assembly director / ACU system, and then we're going to be moving on to the next project part, which is, what are those? Magnetic field generators. And that is going to be a whole thing. We should actually have the versatile frameworks for this, probably. We probably just need to import probably just need to make the electromagnetic control rod, so this should actually be pretty easy. But, I mean, pretty easy is a relative term. Nothing in this save is easy when you're doing on the scales that we're going here. So, yeah, make sure to stop by for that. I will be streaming Satisfactory again on Monday. And follow if you haven't already, so that you know when I'm live. And I will see you guys then. Thanks for hanging out. Had a lot of fun.